Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another SAM.gov Bids Live episode number 51, where we walk through small business solicitations together on SAM.gov and answer your questions along the way so that you too can start bidding and winning contracts on SAM for your small GovCon business. Today, we will be reviewing 5 small business solicitations that I do have pulled up in SAM that we will be jumping into in just a second. But if you're new here and you don't want to miss future SAM.gov Bids Live episodes, make sure you subscribe to the channel and also hit the notification bell so you can ask your questions live on future streams. Don't forget, early bird registration is now open for our next Legal Middleman Method live class for the winter 2024 semester. In this class, you will learn how to middleman government contracts legally, even if you're brand new to government contracting, have no past performance, and no niche skill set. You can save $500 on class tuition and get the swag bag free bonus by registering before December 8th. That's just a little over a week away now. You can visit legalmiddleman.com to get all the details and save money when enrolling. Now, if you are live with us right now, guys, what is going on? You made it. You showed up. Pat on the back to you. Let me know what state you're representing today. Let's see how representative we are across the country. And also, if this is your first time being on the live, let me know you're a first timer so that we can welcome you here as well. Welcome everybody to the show. I will go ahead and give you a sneak peek right now at the bids we're going to be looking at today while we allow the chat comments to come in so we can give some shout outs to you guys in the chat. So bid number 1 that we will be covering today is office furniture assembly and installation. Bid number 2 is going to be waste paper shredding and removal. Number 3, janitorial services, Jennings Randolph Lake. Number 4, we have an RFQ for lodging services out of the Puerto Rico Air National Guard. And bid number 5, latrines and hand washing stations with cleaning service. So these are the 5 bids that we will be covering and going over today. Hope everybody had an awesome holiday weekend coming off of Thanksgiving and the extended weekend. Hope you guys got to spend time with your family, got to eat some good food. I'm back in the gym trying to kind of run off the pies that I ate. Love apple pie, pumpkin pie this time of year any time of year, pumpkin pie tastes great to me as long as there's whipped cream on it. But that's part of what we do this year, right? But the other part is certainly being with our family and maybe taking some time off, reflecting, taking breaks, kind of sharpening the saw for the new year is also something that I like to do. What do you like to do this time of year? What do you like to do as you approach a new year? Even reflecting on the year that has, about to complete. I can talk more about it later, but one of the things I like to do is put on a big kind of like board, everything we want to hit for the year, and then reflect on that and then compare that to the last year. That's something particularly fun that I like to do. What about you guys? All right, we got Code Knights in Georgia, as always, hanging out with us. We also have Byron out of Texas. Good to see you, Byron. G out of Texas. Boloa out of Toronto. Nice to see you. Marie out of Texas. Matt Smith. Good morning. Good morning. Out of Baltimore. We've got Ralphie Jazz. Ralph Indy. Thanks for hanging out with us. We've got Etta and her dog Sasha. Love it. From Boston. What's going on? Rachel Covington. Illusions Plus LLC from Virginia here. What's going on? Representing Virginia. Lala, hello, hello. Good to see you. We've got L Boogie. Hey, Derek, from DC. Good to see you. We see you. You are on live. Linda Creighton out of Texas. We got Heather representing Florida. Good to see you. Raven out of Iowa. We've got Kyle. What's going on, Kyle? Good to see you, man. Out of San Jose. Gina, Maryland. LaJoyce also hanging out. LaJoyce hanging out on LinkedIn. So shout out to our LinkedIn peeps out of Mississippi. Dominique out of California. Yolanda from Greensboro, North Carolina. Latifa out of Virginia. Awesome, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us and keep it coming in. To get the show kicked off, we are going to go ahead and jump into our first bid for the day. And don't forget, new timers, if you made it, if this is your first live, I also want to see that in the chat. Let me know if this is your first time here. So again, bid number 1 is office furniture assembly and installation. This is for the Air Force, and the offers are due December 8th. Again, the same date that our early bird registration closes. Must be fate. Small business set aside, 484210, used household and office goods moving NAICS code. Maybe one of the first times we've seen this code on the show. Place performance is Warner Robins, Georgia. And the description is: the contractor shall provide all tools, parts, materials, equipment, labor, and supervision necessary to assemble and install furniture, i.e. 15 offices. They're saying L-shaped desks and hutches for 15 offices at the Air Force Base. So not too hard to visually imagine kind of what's going on here just from that little bit of information. In terms of attachments, we have 2 Seadrills, we have a statement of work, and an RFQ. We've got Tammy Jackson and Henry Harrison Contracting, and we don't see any updates to the history for this particular solicitation. So we will go ahead and look at the RFQ document itself and see what it has in store for us. We're expecting this to be predominantly driven by price in terms of the evaluation and even from your formal response. But let's see what they have for us. This is 2 pages long only. Please provide a quote for the services of the office furniture assembly and installation. Please submit your quote by filling in the pricing information in the table below, which is CLIN 0001, quantity 1, unit each. Okay, so they said what? They said they wanted 15 for 15 offices. So this way they can, take 1 times 15, or if they want to add offices to it, they'll have their per unit price here in the table. Not terribly complicated pricing, so not really a lot of questions would be my guess. The following factors shall be used to evaluate quotes, and that is the lowest price quote, LPTA. What's important is the technical acceptability, if there's criteria for that, or is it strictly just lowest price only? If the quote fully conforms to the solicitation and the submitting contractor is considered responsible, the contractor's quote shall be selected for award. If the quote does not fully conform to the solicitation, it will not be considered. They're saying the existing furniture, so they're giving us specs here, including the L unit, but files and drawers and cases and all sorts of good stuff. If it were me responding to this, my advice to you all, even if they're asking for a price only on this, which they have just said to fill out the table, they are telling you that the quote must fully conform. So at a minimum, my advice to you is to reflect this list along with your quote, that you will be moving, that you will be transporting, that you will be accommodating these specific pieces, right? Office furniture assembly and installation. So we're assembling this, we're putting this together. We want to let contracting know at a minimum, and we do have our statement of work. So we'll see what else is there. I don't expect it to be very long. It's actually 8 pages. It's longer than the whole solicitation itself, the RFQ. But they've broken it down: setup, debris disposal. So at a minimum, this is what we would want to reflect with our price, even though they're only giving us a price table. Because even though they're only giving us a price table and it's LPTA, we want to make sure we cover the TA. We want to be technically acceptable. And your competition may not do that. They may just say, here's the pricing table. And contracting is saying, okay, I guess, I think their price is for what we've, requested. But when you actually put in your proposal, even if the whole thing ends up being 3 pages, because it's just primarily a price, even if you just add another page and a half or whatever to reflect these main points here, along with, the dimensions and the particular pieces that they're reflecting. Again, the features and the specs here, then contracting will have no doubt. There will be no doubt with you, and you will certainly be technically acceptable, which gets you to the final rating portion of it. And it's not going to be that much extra work for you. So go the extra mile. It's not even a whole mile when you see something like that, is my advice, because it may set you apart from the competition who only says, oh, this is easy, let me just put a number here, right? There's not even an SF1449 form to fill out, right? Go the extra mile, reflect to contracting that this is what you're going to do along with your price. And it may just set you apart in the actual bid. Gina Smith, I'm a first timer here. Well, welcome, Gina Smith. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Matt says, do you use estimating software for the type of bids that we cover on this channel? And what I would say middleman candidate bids, I don't see estimating software being necessary. What I do see being necessary is for you to formulate your own responses and the pricing breakdown to back up those responses. And you can use an Excel for that. The more you use that, the more you're going to dial in your own personal formulas, because, for example, you're the only one who knows what your true overhead is going to be, or what you want to do for profit, right? Or what you're going to do in the best value scenario versus a lowest price, technically acceptable scenario, being more competitive in price or more competitive on your proposal, right? So dialing in, making that part of your personal library for your company's tools, which will be specific and custom to you. That's what I see at this stage and at this level. The more advanced you get, larger contracts you get into, the more that contracting is going to need to see pricing breakdowns and things of that nature. Estimating software becomes more appropriate. The other time that I see estimating software being more appropriate is when you're working on construction contracts, which we really don't do a whole lot of on the channel either. We focus on services. Because with construction contracts, you can be looking at RS means, right? And estimating truly is a skill set and an art. Even more so, I would say, when it comes to construction, especially when you're working within multiple trades. So there's a couple grains of salts there, a couple caveats to give you the full scope of what my answer would be for that. Hopefully it helps. The Shanty Bee, what's going on? Good to see you again. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. You actually looked at this today. Well, what did you think? What did you think about this today? What was your takeaway from this? Linda Creighton, this is Linda's first time hanging out with us today as well. Well, welcome, Linda. Thanks for hanging out with us. Raven says, thanks so much for providing great help, Derek. You're so welcome, Raven. I'm glad that it helps. And is there a particular software that you use for preparing the documents? So yeah, I'm not an affiliate of theirs, but many people talk about, or many people know about, Adobe and these PDF editing softwares. I like software called Small PDF. I find it to be more intuitive to use. I'm more of a visual person, and a lot of you guys and gals are as well. And there's a lot of amazing, cool things that you can do really with no fuss, no training, it just all makes sense. And they are a little bit more price competitive than some of the mainstream, say, document management software or document editing software companies. So check out Small PDF. I think it would be smallpdf.com, or punch them in Google. I think they're a company out of Switzerland or something like that. They're not US based, but I've used them for years and have had nothing but a great experience. Yeah. All right. Awesome, guys. Awesome. And can I just say, I really look forward to this. It's really great hanging out with you guys. Thanks for being here. It's something that I really look forward to each week, and it's why I keep coming back. And I think it's why you guys keep coming back. So it's a lot of fun. Thanks for being great and hanging out for us. Let's go ahead and move on to bid number 2 and keep this train rolling. Bid number 2, waste paper shredding and removal services. And this is DHA, so Defense Health Agency. Offers are due December 21st. Small business set aside. 561990. NAICS code Goose Creek, South Carolina. And we have one document in our attachments here. And then in contracting, we have Min and Mary. In contracting, in terms of the history, we have a pre-sol and then a solicitation, but no further updates for the history for this procurement. Let's go ahead and take a look at our solicitation doc. So we have a formal SF 1449 form here with the solicitation being 44 pages. And we go right into a statement of work on page 3. Now, again, specifically, what did they title this? Waste paper shredding and removal services. So again, we can, another very visual type of contract. The contractor shall provide 22 95-gallon rolling, lockable, and console bins for shredding services. This is a service contract to provide waste paper removal shredding at the Naval Health Clinic Charleston building and the dental building. We do have a POP, and they're letting us know that this is a base plus 4 years. So a great LMM candidate, legal middleman candidate for building your book of business, as we say, because this will stack for 1 base period and 4 option periods, so 5-year period. Work you do this year can be paying off 3 years from now, and just do more of that. And in a few years, you'll find yourself in a very good place. That's really the motto as you get into more of like our LMM course, or like we'll be going more into in the LMM class. I want you building a book of business of service contracts primarily. You can add on some other stuff if you want to throw in some supplies if you want to. It's fine. Make it your own. But to be able to build something that stacks year on year for you, I believe, and it's from my personal story, and also what I've seen a lot personally, is what works really, really well to avoid things like, say, burnout or giving up after 12 to 18 months, because these contracts, they keep you going, they keep you in it. And again, they stack and you get to experience the power of compounding. It's really powerful stuff. Specific tasks, they'll give us some more specific tasks here, but frequency of services, once monthly, so once per month, with the exception of federal holidays. And then you will pick up the bins. Okay, like this is not rocket science stuff, right? You just have to learn exactly what they want, the way they want it, and then do it. Qualifications and considerations. Now we get into the SAM stuff here, reps and certs. And then we do a pricing cleanse. Okay, so these pricing cleanse should reflect our base plus option years. We'll see if they've broken out multiple services in the base period, or if it's just going to be this one 0001. Okay, which again is going to reflect the monthly that we just read. Again, by the way, I skipped it, but the POP, this doesn't kick off until actual April. So odds are there is an incumbent contractor already providing this service, and they're preparing and soliciting this for a service to kick off in the spring to start over with a new contractor, or possibly if the incumbent is bidding on this themselves, an incumbent contractor, right? So for example, something like this, you would want to ask contracting, if there is an incumbent in place, what is the existing contract award number / award value? So we do see this. Actually, we don't. We go from base right into a option year 1. And that picks back up in April. So full year of service, option year 1, 2, 3, and 4. So base plus 4. Over to our delivery schedule. We see the POP reflected here as well. We'll also see they did not give us any POC for who would be the potential core on this. Again, it's just the actual address. Sometimes we'll see a phone number and a name here, and that will be a name that you would get familiar with. So we've kind of waded our way through the first big chunk of this. Now what I'm interested in what is required in our response. We already know what the pricing looks like. What does now the proposal piece look like? For that, we're looking for instruction to offers, evaluation factors, or some sort of mix between the two. And to remind ourselves, this is our only document, so we don't have any other documents to rely on here. So this is all you get. We see reps inserts, we see the clauses, and I did not see either of the sections that we were looking for. So I'll do a quick keyword search just to make sure. So they've just given us the templated boilerplate instructions and evaluation sections. They're saying you agree to hold your price firm for 60 days. That's about it. So here is the addendum for the evaluation. So we at least have that. And so this literally one page is going to be everything to us. Okay, so we found it through doing the Control F, and they didn't put it in the instructions. They've combined the evaluation and instructions together under this addendum. They're telling us the basis for award here is going to be LPTA. You must receive a rating of technically acceptable in order for your overall proposal to be determined technically acceptable. Okay, yes, we know that. But specifically, what is that? Okay, offers technical proposal will receive an overall rating based on the following: acceptable or unacceptable. Again, a lot of restatement. Offer meets all the requirements and specifications, or the offer fails to meet all the requirements or specifications. So again, fairly vague. And this really does support what I was saying on the previous solicitation that we looked at, where if you just give them the price, you might be lowest price, you might have the LP, but again, like I said, what about the TA? Like, what about the technically acceptable piece? And here, they're defining it for you. I'll zoom in. It's pass fail. So to make sure you pass for something like this, you're going to want to reflect, as I said in the first bid, same approach. You're going to want to reflect not only the what, but in this instance, we have a little bit more information. So we'll want to add in the how as well. So how are you going to do this? That is our standard default when it comes to responding to solicitations, when contracting doesn't give us an overly great amount of information and they're just telling us this is pass fail, and they're saying, fill out the pricing tables. In 44 pages, that's essentially what we have to work with. So we need to err on the side of doing a little bit more. We didn't see other limitations, for example, like page count. We didn't see strict formatting guidelines where, it's factor one, subfactor such and such, volume one, volume two, they didn't give us any of that, okay? So instead we stick to our defaults, and you rely on those defaults, and you can also submit questions to contracting. If there's something that you're not comfortable about using these defaults, you just feel like something was suggested in the solicitation that's not the right way to go, but they weren't clear exactly about what they want, then that's a candidate for submitting a question in RFI to contracting. But for something like this, it's fairly straightforward, and I'm very comfortable with relying more on a default type approach with giving contracting the what and the how to satisfy a technical, because we want to be technically acceptable, not unacceptable. And then we'll also provide them the pricing and the SF1449 form and the reps inserts that they've provided us in this document. And we could feel good about moving forward with that, aside from any questions that may, surmise out of, say, reading the statement of work more, or if you're going to be working with a subcontractor on this, any questions they may have. I didn't see anything about a site visit. I don't know if that would be appropriate. But if there was, that's another factor and another variable. Other questions coming in from your quote unquote competitors, other bidders on this, could also drive some additional traction on something like this as well. But this would be the base to kind of get started with, is what I would say. Vern's Sport Takes, what's going on? If you sub some of the work out for this project, would you tell the sub this is government work to not be taxed by the sub? Or how do you, taxes, when we talk about taxes, it's typically state sales tax. That is the conversation. So with services, we don't really see taxes as much, right? It's more of like product-based things. So yes, if if there was something going on with a particular contract, you could certainly let them know that. And you could, again, it's typical state sales tax, right? And the way that if you really dig into it, the way that every state treats state sales tax for contractors, it's different, which is why there's not one blanket statement. So whatever state those taxes would be charged in, i.e. wherever the sub was performing service, you could get that, for example, tax exemption form. You can find it on the state website, or you could also request it from contracting as well, so that you can provide that to whoever you will be partnering with to satisfy. That's at a high level, in a nutshell. You use that exemption form. But with services, we don't really see, again, the tax piece being as much of an issue. It's more with supplies. Or say, like lodging, things like that. Byron says, thank you. I have the course. It's very informational. That's awesome, Byron. I'm glad that you think it's very informational. I also hope that you're able to find it to be pragmatic and something you can actually apply and put to work for you. So my hope is that it's informational, but it's also something that you feel you can move forward and actually use. I want it to be pragmatic and informational. The Shanty B, once you find a sub, what information should be included in the service agreement with the subcontractor? The work to be performed, delegation of tasks, who's going to be doing what, some form of an NDA, time periods, right? Their quote is good for X number of days. Those would be like 5 things off the top of my head that are some of the main ones. Can you bid on inactive solicitations? No, if the solicitation is not active, don't waste your time. Move on to something that's active. You can't bid on it. They're not accepting responses. Cool. Good questions, guys. Let's keep it trucking. Janitorial services, Jennings, Randolph, Lake. Again, guys, if you're enjoying the episode today, feel free to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed yet already. This is for USACE, so it's going to be for the Army Corps of Engineers. This is due December 11th, Small Business Set Aside 561720, the Common Janitorial NAICS code. And this is for Elk Garden, West Virginia. So Army Corps is looking to procure janitorial services. This will result in one firm fixed price award based on 3 evaluation factors. Look at this. The Army Corps, as usual, has their stuff together. I don't even have to dive into the solicitation document to find out what the evaluation factors are on this one. Let me zoom in a bit more for you. They're literally giving it to us in the very first sentence. Thank you, Army Corps. Technical, past performance, and price. There is a pre-bid site visit, which actually has not passed yet. It's scheduled on December 6th. They give you the address and the POC, Barry Holland. You are urged to inspect the site, essentially, if you're going to bid on it. The pre-bid questions are due December 7th, essentially the Q&A. And proposals are due no later than the 11th. And look at this. They're literally telling you not only the evaluation, but now the instructions to offers. What is it they want without even have to open a solicitation? And guys, every bid is different. I need to put that on a t-shirt. Every bid is different. This one, they're making it very, very time effective for us, because it doesn't mean we want to bid on it, but they're giving us the information that we would need primarily to determine, make a bid, no bid decision, deal, no deal decision. So for requirement number 1, for the technical sheet. So, okay, we know we got to give them a technical sheet. What needs to be on that technical sheet, you say? The answer is a cage code, tax ID, DUNS number, which is actually out of date. So the UEI has replaced the DUNS. Best point of contact and capabilities plan. Well, what's a capabilities plan? Glad you asked. They say it's the approach to execute the contract with adequate documentation to illustrate capabilities to successfully complete the work identified that includes staffing plan and equipment. So they're saying capabilities plan equals documentation plus staffing plan plus equipment. Okay, so if you're building like an outline, okay, capability, technical sheet, right? Cage, tax, UEI, best point of contact, and then capabilities plan. And what's under the capabilities plan? Documentation, staffing plan, and equipment. Okay, so now we're building an outline. Okay, we've got those placeholders in. Now you can already fill in 80% of that. Okay, well, 80% of that part of the proposal is already done. Cool, it's like magic, plug and chug. Now requirement 2, past performance. They're saying this is optional. Past performance is an optional. So we have a new sheet, and that sheet's called past performance. Past performance is optional, and it will be sent no later than December 11th. If you're going to do it, it will include 2 past performance of what are the 2 R's that we always say, recent and relevant. So inclusion of 2 past performance references for similar projects completed in the last 3 years. So 2 in the last 3. And then inclusion of 2 past performance questionnaires. I'm assuming they've attached those for us to refer to. Otherwise, if not, they didn't say it, but you're going to get a neutral rating because they're saying that this is optional. So the second sheet, you could do 2 contracts and also 2 PPQs, or you can skip it and get a neutral rating. Like this is amazing. I don't even have to open the solicitation. Like I do, but it's so nice. And then the third sheet, literally called a price sheet. Return the attached bid sheets. Okay, today is the day of sheets, apparently, or the bid of sheets. All items must be priced for base plus option years. Okay, so we know this is also base plus option years. They're going to select what's fair and reasonable. They're going to calculate a TEP, a total evaluated price. Government may determine that it's unacceptable if your pricing is unbalanced. So they also want balanced pricing. All this, like literally the 3 standard things we see them say about pricing are right here. Okay, so then we have our attachments. Do we have a PPQ? Yes. So that's there. We have a bid sheet. So that's there. And then all we have left is the solicitation doc, which is, we've already read 95% of what we need to read at this point, aside from, of course, the details of the statement of work for this janitorial services contract. If only all bids were this straightforward and transparent, we could all make bid no bid decisions that much faster and painlessly. So I'm going to quickly go through this 67 pages, because we just read so much of it already. Literally all this information they just gave to us, we just read it. So we're going to keep going. They're telling us it'll be, pass fail or neutral for the technical. Interesting. And the same for the past performance. And then the price will be LPTA. The price will be rated LPTA. So here is the cost estimate sheet. Doesn't look that nice, to be honest. They're giving us quantity, they're giving us frequency, as well as a breakdown of complete services versus seasonal services, it appears, for different locations. Not 4 different locations, for the different locations. We do also see a POP in this sheet kicking off January 1st, going through the end of the new year. We did hear a mention of option periods. So we will see these reflected here through 2025, 2026, and that looks like it. So base plus 2 is the option for this. So 3 sheets, base plus 2, total price for the end of each of these, and good stuff. And I actually totally forgot to mention, guys, but if you're new here, this is your first live, we don't look at any of these ahead of time. I'm looking at these literally for the first time ever with you. All I do is pull bids that look interesting ahead of time and pull them up in the browser. And then I just walk away from my desk until it's time for the show. And then I come back, and then as long as Sam didn't kick me out, we're good to go. And then I look at them for the first time with you. So you see how important, I'm gonna soapbox for a second here. You see how important reading is. Reading empowers you to look at all these different bids and make sense of them. It's literally the essence of this show and the essence of me getting on doing this for more than a year at this point for this particular show. I mean, the YouTube channel has been going for more than 5 years at this point. But this one show doing the same thing every single episode is to demonstrate proficiency in reading, and to also invite you and hopefully pave a way for you to encourage you to adapt maybe just one thing you pick off from the show, or a couple things that you pick up over time if you come week after week or month after month and watch me do this and watch the questions that come in and listen to the answers that are given, to piece this together as a puzzle in a way that makes sense to empower you to go out to do this on your own, as I always say. But coming back to the reading portion, every single one of these, there's going to be a curveball. It's going to be different. It's not a cookie cutter type thing. Okay, if I just learned this, then I'm good. I don't need this anymore. Like, if only it were that easy, so many more would do it, right? Again, the show tries to bring so many more in by lowering that learning curve gap by doing it with you and demonstrating it for you here. But you have to learn how to read. Seeing an example of an example winning proposal it's not going to help you at all, for example, because the bid you look at, it's not going to look at anything like the solicitation that was for that proposal reflected. What's being reflected in your proposal is going to be totally different than that winning proposal from the past, right? So what's even more important and crucial is for you to be able to take a solicitation and read and dissect and plug and chug and do an Easter egg hunt and read. And I would advise you to kind of course, follow some of what we teach here on the show, so that you have what you need at least 80% of the time, maybe even 90% of the time, so that when you're faced with one of these, I don't even say faced, but when you're inviting in the opportunity, you're considering bid, no bid, right? And this takes time, that you're able to make good choices for your business to invest your time into, because I know you get so frustrated when you respond to a bid and you didn't hear back from contracting. You didn't get any feedback. Maybe you didn't get the debrief, or you don't even know who won, or you just never heard anything. It's very, very frustrating, right? And so there's certain things that we can't avoid, but there are so many things that we can avoid, like working on a bid only to realize 10 days later that this is VOSB set aside. Now, maybe you wouldn't fall prey to any of that, because you're like, no, Derek, I would spot that right away. I would never waste my time on a set aside that I know I'm not qualified for. Okay, well, not everybody, is there yet. But then for those who are past that, maybe realizing a solicitation that you're looking at, that it's going to be really hard to get quotes for something. Say, when we're already into the snow season and contracting has a bid for snowplow services, right? You may find that you call around and it's already booked up. The subs are not taking on any more. Then what? Okay, well, now you've already wasted a day, 2 days working on this thing, only to find out once you call that it's dead in the water, right? And maybe through experience and going through this, you will have learned, like, I'm cutting that too close. I'll no bid that, and I'll go after something that I know is not going to be dominated by that particular seasonality that might be too late. Or maybe something more specific with the actual solicitation, reading the solicitation, realizing after you go through the whole thing, right? You read it, you say you want to go after it, you get quotes from multiple companies, you decide to work with one, they're going to be your teaming partner, you put the proposal together, you submit it, and then you find out you lost. And then in that particular debrief or feedback or own realization, you realize that you thought you would win. You thought your winning offer was going to be because you were the lowest price, and you didn't truly understand what a best value proposal meant or what that was reflective of, right? Contracting is not going for the lowest price when it comes to best value. They're going for the best value in the proposal, right? So maybe you learn to prioritize solicitations that are best teed for what you can put together in a proposal. And if you don't think what you're going to put down is going to be winning based on whatever evaluation strategy it is, then maybe you'll pass on that. So see, that's much more in depth. That's much more involved. Can still be a big waste of your time, and not a waste because you're going to learn. But the better you get at reading, the more dialed in you get at this, the more targeted you're going to be in selecting the right opportunities for your business. Not just because of what the title says, but because of what you're going to have to put on paper, because of what kind of subs you're going to have to find if you're going to do legal middlemaning, or what you're going to self-perform if you're self-performing. These are all things that you can start thinking about now before you decide to move forward and read for and look for, the better you get at this. And that's kind of where I want you at. I want you, if you can be there, you'll be fine. You'll be fine on your own. I know some of you are already there. I know some of you are well on your way to being there. But that's my message. That's what I'm trying to get across to you with doing this show, being able to pull up just these different bids and think about these different factors as it applies to you, literally you having to do the follow-up work, because it hurts to do work and then to find out that your time was wasted, or to get frustrated, or to get burned by a sub because they cut you out, all these sorts of things. We want to continue to consider all of this in deciding how we use our time and what bids we want to go after. Hopefully that hits on a note with one or two of you. Corey says, should we form a service agreement before or after being awarded? It's okay to do it after you have the award, but it is important that you close, at least informally, before it's awarded with whoever your teaming partner is going to be, because you don't want the deal to fall apart. Like, you, for example, closing them means their quote to you needs to be good for the same duration of time that your quote to the government needs to be good for, right? They say, oh, well, my prices have gone up. It's 60 days later. No, you need to close them now, but before you even submit that stuff off to the government. Otherwise, it's going to come back to bite you. So the formalities don't necessarily have to be in check until the award, but you do want to close them so that you're not submitting something that's going to come back to bite you. Hey, Derek, thanks for the knowledge. Question: every time I give the subs the statement of work and the technical proposal, they always run away from me. Any suggestions, please? And thanks for the course. I enjoyed it. Awesome. I'm glad that you enjoyed the course. Another LMM course member and student. That's fantastic. And anybody who's in the course, don't forget you can roll over your course into the class if it's something, if you want to go deeper, if you want to work with me in a more intimate setting where it's just us for the winter semester. That's literally what we have our discount going on for right now until December 8th, $500 off. If you want to roll over your investment from the course into the class, that's something we're doing. And right now there's a very limited time to take advantage of all the savings. So keep that in mind. But to come back to the question, absolutely. So they run away. So this is something that, Ralphie Jazz, that this is a good problem for you to get better at solving, because it sounds like you have company or companies, subs that are wanting to work with you, but then the formality of the government is scaring them away, i.e. you're giving them the stuff. They don't know what this is. Stuff meaning you're giving them a statement of work or the technical proposal, right? As you said, maybe the solicitation docs. I would prefer, we actually talk about this in the course too, but it's better to break down and go through it with them what you're needing. Don't like fling it off to them and say, this is what I need. If you do, it's very likely this is the type of feedback you're going to get. You could even go through it with them, like while you have them on a call, have them on the call and say, okay, I'm going to send this to you, 2 seconds. Okay, did you get it? Send it, open up. Okay, and then walk through it and be like, yeah, this government solicitation. Don't worry about it. All the confusing stuff, that's for me to know. And that's why I'm a government contractor. I've been in this space for enough time. It's literally a different language. And so don't worry about that. That's what I'm good at. That's the expertise, part of the expertise that I'm bringing to the management of this contract. So let me handle all the confusing stuff, all the government stuff. From you, I just need, it's almost like when you go to a bank or something like that, or you're going somewhere where you're signing and there's like dozens of pages and you're like, well, I'm not reading all this stuff, right? And if you had to, or if someone just gave that to you, you would just check out and be like, I'm not doing that. So what I want you to do instead is we're not reinventing the wheel here. It's like, okay, sign, highlight, you put the sticky notes or sign here. That's what we're doing with our teaming partners, with our subcontractors. We're making it easier for them, because if you have a really good company that's wanting to work with you, and it sounds like it is, and you're losing them because of this one last hurrah, this one last hurdle, turn it into a positive. The positive spin is like, you're the expert at that stuff and they don't need to be. So now they're literally seeing what you're bringing to the table, and they're also seeing it's what they're not bringing to the table. So now there is a level of respect earned. There is a balance between like those delegations of labor, divisions of labor, as I talk about, even when it comes to like subcontract agreements and things like that. They know what you're doing and why you're necessary, and you know what they're getting out of the deal, right? And it's important anytime there's a deal or there's a partnership, everybody has to have their cards on the table, because if both parties don't know how it's mutually beneficial, they're going to be suspicious. And that's also what happens with subs. It's like, well, what do I need you for? I'm just going to cut you out. It's like, oh, well, have you tried doing this government contracting thing? Yeah, no, it can take 6 to 12 months to learn how to actually be proficient at reading bids. It's not something that you're just going to go do. Let's not even talk about managing contracts, right? All the stuff that you as the prime are going to bring, and the contract deliverables and all these things, right? Communicating with contracting in the core. They don't know the slightest thing about that, okay? What they need to know is check mark, highlight. Okay. I need 2 projects from you. I need you to write me 2 pages on how you're going to actually do this work, or I need a list of the equipment that you're going to be using, or I need you to fill out the pricing table here. Yeah, just do it hourly or just do it monthly, and you give them the boiled down version. I think you get what I'm saying. Hopefully it's hitting with a lot of you. It makes sense that if we're giving, we're just giving them the packet. And I'm not saying that you're even recklessly doing that. I'm not suggesting that, but I'm saying at worst, if that's what's being done, it makes sense that this is the type of behavior that you would be experiencing. So I don't know the exact situation, but from the sounds of it, it sounds like heading in this other direction could only, whatever that looks like for you, could only result in improvement. So hopefully there's improvement there for you. Hopefully there's something there that you can work with. Ray, happy to catch you on live, but I have to rewatch it. Keep doing what you do. Help the people that are clueless to the government contracting. Hey, appreciate that, Ray. I appreciate that. That's absolutely what we try to do here. Rick 777-888. The government pushed back the due date for a proposal about 3 times. Should I call and ask what is going on? What do you think should be going on? So, Rick, good question. First off, I would ensure that I can't answer that question myself, meaning going to the SAM page, seeing if questions are being posted. I should say rather answers to questions are being posted, amendments aren't being posted, or other amendments to the solicitation itself are being posted. All of those and other things can all result in the deadline being pushed back. Maybe you've already done that. Maybe you haven't. If you haven't, start there. If you have no evidence, which very well may be the case, because I'm sure you're a smart person. If there is no evidence, then you can make that inquiry. I would context it not in the format of what the heck is going on, although that's what I would be thinking. That's what you're thinking. That's what we'd all be thinking. Got it. And of course you wouldn't say that. Of course you wouldn't. But the context would be, for example, you could say, we understand the proposal deadline has been pushed back a couple of times. Can contracting please share how this will affect the POP start date? Like, how will this affect the start of work? i.e., the proposals are pushed back, the due date. Does that mean the start of work is going to be pushed back too? Right? So is there some sort of context that we can make this to be more than greater than just the actual deadline? Because you can ask that, but it's like if you ask better questions, you get better answers. So if you can tie it to something that's greater and more about the project and the overall effect, in my opinion, you might get a more meaningful response. Because if contracting responds back with some short, meaningless answer, it's like, well, it's not going to do anything for you. So better questions, better answers. That I would consider a contextual approach. Just from my experience of trying to get info, the more you put into it, sometimes the more you get out of it. Well, guys, we were just in the middle of that last bid, but we did get kind of through the meat of what we wanted, because we did get a lot of upfront information. So I think we will go ahead and just jump on to the next one, also for the interest of time. Request for quotes, RFQ, Lodging Services, Puerto Rico, Air National Guard. Due December 4th, next week. Small business set aside. We've got the hotel and motel next code 721-110. Place performance, Carolina, Puerto Rico. appears to be another solicitation where we get some good upfront information. There's a requirement to obtain quotes for regularly scheduled drills, RSD, lodging in San Juan. They intend to enter into a contract to provide room nights beginning from Saturday, December 9th through December 19th. So for 10, 11 days. Lodging facilities must be within 15 miles. Okay, so we know San Juan, Isla Verde, 15-mile radius for hotel, motel, say hotel. Double rooms shall have 2 queen or single beds with a sofa that also can be converted into a bed. And single rooms shall have a king or queen with a sofa as well. And they're saying lodging pricing shall adhere to mandated DoD per diem. And then they give you the website to look at those per diem calculator rates as well, so that you don't have to imagine what that is. So we do have period performance for this. Interestingly enough, they're saying 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 18, 19. Basis for award will be lowest quote. And then for the technical acceptability, pass-fail, lots of pass-fails today. Not always the case. We certainly get to see our fair share of best value contracts. But they want a minimum of a mid-scale quality economy-style hotel. And you either clearly meet the schedule and the requirements or you don't. I mean, it doesn't get more straightforward than that. If you wish to compete, please submit your standard business pro quota form, including your vendor POC information. Assuming that's something that they're going to give us, we see an RFQ, a statement of work, and a QUASP. Okay, so we have 4 pages, just 4 pages long. We have our pricing table here. Again, see how different this looks? But they're giving us the number of rooms, so we don't have to guesstimate on that. And then this is literally a copy and paste job for what we just read on the listing page. Now, this ties to the question we were just answering. There is no need to include sales tax in your pricing. Do you see that? As a certificate of exempt purchases can be furnished being an exempt federal agency upon award, right? So this can be furnished as it would a federal agency upon award for the sales tax exemption. Literally what we just talked about. Didn't plan that, couldn't plan that. Hopefully that doubly helps to answer and just validate everything we were talking about 15 minutes ago. Statement of work here. I'm looking for that. I'm curious about that sheet. I mean, I don't want to just ignore that. They're also saying it here as well. They said compete. If you wish to compete, please submit your standard business pro forma quote. So essentially they're saying provide your own quote. Okay, there's not a standard quote form that they've appeared to have given us. So this is what we come back on our faults, or our defaults rather. Statement of work. It's going to give us a lot more details about the room information. It should be fairly straightforward, however. And remember some of the important points we already learned. 15-mile radius. What did they call it? Minimum mid-scale quality. And then, of course, the beds, the sofas that turn into beds, all those sorts of things, right? You'll want to repeat that and reflect that. Again, it seems to be the overall message for today. You want to repeat that and include that with your quote, with your pricing, to make sure you are technically acceptable, checking the box that pass-fail box, you want to land on the right side of that. What's going on? The trucker secretary, thanks for hanging out with us. Andre here in Muskegon, Michigan, first live. Andre, welcome. Shout out to Michigan, my stomping grounds. Also, kudos for first live. Happy to have you here. Thanks for hanging out with us. Welcome to the stream. Fantastic, fantastic. Marie, Derek, do you suggest that I attach my reps asserts? So if you read it carefully, many representation certification statements in your solicitation will say, if you are registered in SAM, you don't have to check all these boxes or provide the whole thing. You can just provide this one page. And also, for example, like the newer covered telecom stuff that's been around for a few years, which gets you out of having to like provide the whole thing over and over. So I would read that carefully. I would look for that within the first few pages of where the reps asserts start in the solicitation. Very often, it's more than half of the time you'll find that statement. If you're already registered in SAM, you don't have to provide all this. There's literally just like one box that you have to check, basically stating that your representations in SAM are current and up to date. That's what that one box is that you have to check, because contracting can always go and access your SAM profile publicly and download your FAR and DFAR report and have that if they need it, or look for whatever they need to. So as a default, you can always provide it, but technically you don't always have to provide it. And worst case scenario, like I said, you can also download your FAR DFAR report. I've got a very short YouTube video, I think it's 2 minutes or less, that shows you how to do that in 2 minutes. Download your own company's FAR and DFAR report, your reps inserts, save it in a file so that you can always just upload it when you need it as well. All right, guys, so our last bid for today is latrines and hand washing stations with cleaning services for MIC, Mission and Installation Contracting Command. Due December 8th. It's been updated. Small business set aside, Fort Bliss, 562991, septic tank and related services. And this has been extended through December 8th to reflect a new, literally, I can't write this up. This is literally what I was just saying. Remember that question I just answered a couple minutes ago about, hey, this has been kicked back 3 times. Should I ask them what the heck's going on? And I said, first off, I said, make sure you can't demise from your own fact finding with amendments and things like that. And if there's no evidence, I said, then ask a contextual question. Better questions get better answers. That's what I said. And the example I gave was in case the POP changes, when the work is actually going to start. So now we're looking at a bid right now where the due date went from November 22nd to December 8th. So another example, like the proposal got pushed back by a whole 2 weeks. What the heck's going on? And they're telling us solicitation has been amended and extended to December 8th to reflect a new period of performance, right? It's going hand in hand. The POP is getting pushed back. Now, we don't know why it's being pushed back, but it is being pushed back. And for that reason, the proposal deadline is being pushed back. So these two absolutely are in a form of a marriage where there's a lead time between the two, because, if the start of work was yesterday and the proposal's not due until tomorrow, like things are absolutely out of whack, right? As an extreme example. So Fort Bliss MIC proposes to award a contract for 16 latrines with services for Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, if necessary, and 12 hand washing stations. The objective is to provide the latrines, the hand washing stations, and the cleaning services with servicing for both in support of the field training exercises. Pretty straightforward, I think. We have the amendment, which we already know is going to show the change in the POP and probably the proposal due date. And then we have the actual solicitation itself, which is 51 pages, SF 1449 form, straight into pricing cleanse, quantity 6 for the latrines. They want each pricing, however. And then the service is one job. So the contractor will ensure that the 6 latrines located at the grid are serviced every Monday, Friday, and Saturday. So they want the price for all of that in one, they're saying, in one job. Then 4 hand washing stations. And then the hand washing station services cleaning as well. Then the portable latrines, now we have 10 here. So that's how we got to 16, 10 plus 6. And then the cleaning for those. And then the hand washing stations, the cleaning for those. And then the relocation to actually move those, either to get those there or to really relocate those. So these pricing clins all told a story that mirrored exactly what we just had read prior to this. We have our delivery schedule reflecting our POP to start 27 November, which is why the amendment was put into place, because now the 27th of November has already passed. So now we can see in this amendment, this actually is an amendment. It says it's the amendment. They may have just made the changes. The amendment is usually just a few pages, and they highlight what the changes were and ask you to sign, print, date, and sign and return the changes. But here, they just made the changes in the document. So it's not really a true amendment. It's just a new solicitation. In the new solicitation, they didn't do any highlights, but because we know the story that's going on here, we can see the new POP is 17 January versus the old one, which I don't know. Did I close it? Versus the old one was 27 November. Okay, so it makes sense. Which means, it's not an amendment per se. Like you could ask contracting, because they've named it amendment, but it's not. Because technically the new version, the quote unquote amendment version, is the version of the SF 1449 form that you should print, date, and sign. The way this is laid out, you should not be having to do both. But you could ask contracting, hey, do you want me to do both SF 1449 forms? Because typically what you would do is you would do the original SF 1449 form, and then if they gave you an amendment, you would also do the amendment, and you provide them both. But they didn't give you a true amendment. They just gave you another 51-page document. They gave you the whole thing. So technically, you should just be able to give them the new version, because that's really what this is. It's just the new version, and then that's it. But they're calling it amendment, and we can't speak for them. So I would want clarification on that if I were to actually go after this one. It's possible that this is RFQ only, price only, but I'm just doing a quick skim at the end for any instructions or evaluations. When we see price only, we can almost always assume that it's going to be lowest price, because what else is there to evaluate? But we didn't see anything about name brand. We're just seeing latrines, hand washing stations, and the cleaning for those. And a breakdown of those specific tasks. But yeah, we're not seeing much other than that. Okay, awesome, guys. Let's see, do we have anything else for today? Don't think so. So, guys, again, early bird registration ends on December 8th. If you're wanting to enroll in our winter semester class, just go to legalmiddleman.com. You can get all the details there, answer a lot of questions. I did a live Q&A. That video is there. Answer all of your questions. And then next week, we will be doing a very special episode. It will be kind of our end of year conclusion episode for this. We're going to kind of make it big. We're going to actually do a giveaway. We'll do some pre-giveaways for the book, as well as some other neat stuff. And we're going to try to make it a lot of fun. So you'll see a lot more information on that being pushed out, literally probably starting tomorrow up until next week. We might even do an evening episode. I'm not entirely sure. I want to be able to maximize attendance. So we'll see what we end up deciding on that. But if that's something you think would be fun, cool, hang out. It will be a different type of episode. We'll celebrate the end of the year together, because after that, things are going to kind of get crazy, getting people to try to watch shows. And I'm going to be very busy. So we'll take a couple weeks off, and then we'll kickstart the new year together in January. So we kind of want to have like an end of year blowout type episode and make it fun. Give some, do some giveaways, some goodies, stuff like that to you guys, celebrate the show. and probably be, go a little bit longer than what we normally do, probably do 2 hours or something like that. So if you want to be part of something like that, definitely look out for that as well over the next week and into next week. I don't know if we'll do it on Tuesday. We might do it on like a Wednesday or a Thursday. Again, I want to try to like optimize attendance. So I'm going to be very much looking forward to that. It should be a lot of fun. Would love for you to come by and say hello and maybe win something cool like a book or something like that. So awesome, guys. We'll go ahead and conclude and wrap up the episode today. Hope this was valuable to you. Like, subscribe, share, anything you can do to get the word out, our message out, literally to many other people that need to hear and learn from what we're putting out on the internet for free for everybody to come in and learn and win real contracts on SAM. Please do that. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week with our very special celebratory episode. Until then, take care. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys. And we'll see you all very soon.